Hello everybody, it's Friday. What a quick week it has been. Thank you for all your messages to let me know what you've been up to and messages to say that you have enjoyed listening to the story. I thought I would do chapter 5 so you had something to think about over the weekend, and then next week will be the final chapter, chapter 6. So this chapter is called How to Feel Joyful, Disgusted, Worried, Angry, Sad and Hopeful. It's all about feelings and how a lot of us are probably dealing with a lot of different emotions and feelings at the moment. Chapter 5. In the corner of Beau's room, we have a big wooden toy house. A couple of years ago, we went down to town to the cinema, and on the way home, we saw this beautiful toy house in a skip. And Mum stopped the car and put it on the back seat on top of me and Beau, and we took it home. We sanded it down, then painted it green and gold. It's called the Inside Out House because the film we watched was Inside Out. We went down to the river and we collected lots of interesting looking stones. Then we painted them with different feelings. I painted a big frowning face on a pointy red stone and called him Anger, and his brother is a jagged black rock called Rage. Sadness is a perfect round pebble. Disgust is a large brown grey rock with lots of knobbly bits. Worry is a greenish stone that's just the right size to squeeze in your hand. And Beau found a perfect flat round skimming stone and said that we should save it to be joy instead of throwing it in the river. To start off with, Beau and me just played out stories with the different stones, although it would usually end with Beau shouting, "Rage rock!" and smashing all the other stones with rage. Then we started to go and fetch disgust whenever Mum suggested something disgusting for tea, like buckwheat and gherkin salad or cold Stilton and spinach soup. Now, any time I feel anxious, I fetch Worry and squeeze him in the palm of my hand. The problem is, when I stop feeling worried, I just leave him lying around, and then Mum stands on him and she has to go and get Anger, or maybe even Rage. This morning, I saw Beau sitting in front of the Inside Out house. He was holding Worry in his hand, even though it was slightly too big for his hand to squeeze. He said he was worried about Gran. I picked up Sadness, because she's just as good as Worry to hold in your hand. I felt a bit sad that Gran was going to be stuck inside for so long. Normally she goes out with all the other tiny old ladies and they do aqua aerobics in the shallow end of the pool and eat huge slices of cake in the leisure centre cafe. Above the Inside Out house, Mum had painted a big sign in her curly calligraphy writing. It's impossible to read because it's so curly that she told us that it says, "It's okay to feel that way." Mum came in and sat with us for a bit. Then she told us what she thinks we need a new stone for the house. She wouldn't tell us what feeling it was or even what the stone should look like, just that we'd know it when we saw it. So we all put on our wellies and trudged down to the river. Pretty soon Beau had forgotten about looking for the special stone and was just looking for dinosaur fossils. But me and Mum kept looking for ages and ages, until my fingers were frozen to icicles and Beau had made an enormous pile of dinosaur fossils. Eventually I saw the stone we were looking for. It was under the water, lodged beneath a big craggy slab that I had to lever up. The stone was really small, about the size of an acorn, and it glistened. When you held it up to the sky, the light gleamed through it, and it sparkled like a crystal. I knew Mum would love it. "That's it," she said, beaming. "What is it?" I asked. "It's Hope." We took Hope home and introduced her to all the other stones, and then Mum painted another sign to go above the house. She had to read it out to us because of the curly writing, but it said, "Hope is the thing with feathers," which is a poem by Emily Dickinson. We wrote another postcard for Gran, and then I thought of all of this would be such a good idea to include in my book. Here are some questions that me and Beau thought of. Are you worried too? Do dragons like soup? Who could you talk to? How do your grown-ups feel? Do dinosaurs like soup? Is it okay to feel that way? Now, in this story, in this chapter, they refer to a poem by Emily Dickinson, and I looked it up and I thought I would read it to you because it is a beautiful poem. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. I think that's a beautiful poem that talks about hope and the importance of hope, and I think this chapter reminds us that it's okay to feel all of these different emotions, and hopefully my little emojis on this picture made you laugh a little bit, because I certainly have felt every single one of those feelings since we have been in lockdown. Hope, however, is very important. Hope is what's keeping us going and making us remember that there is an end to this, and I hope that we'll all be together again very soon. So I wrote my own little hope poem. Hope is the place where you want to go. Hope is the person who you want to know. Hope is the feeling that carries you through, and hope is the future for me and for you. Make sure you're still talking to people. Make sure you're expressing your emotions and your feelings. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. And I'll be back next week for the final chapter.